Namaskar, everyone. Namaste. Namaste, everybody. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the Transformational Meditation class organized by Quantum Life University. I welcome you all to this space where we share, learn, and grow. So, friends, by the time more members are joining, let us all sit for sit with our breath. Let us have some meditation for all of us. So I would like you all, for this class, find a place where you're not disturbed, where you can be on your own for next 1.5 hours, where you can note down your own reflections. It's good to have pen and paper with you. And yeah, that's it. So let us start with small meditation. I would like you all to close your eyes and take 3 long, deep breaths. Breathing in from your nose, hold it for a while, and breathe out from your mouth. Closing your eyes and just focus on your normal, natural breath. We remind ourselves that there is no need for me to run here and there, and I can be completely here in this moment. We just stay with the breath. Just be. We can drop all the activities, be it outside, and all the activities that mind was busy in, is busy with. We can let go of it. We can just fully experience our breath. Just welcome every breath that comes inside, the pause that happens right after we breathe in, and the breath that goes out right after the pause is over. We just stay with our breath. We stay with our normal, natural, peaceful, soft breath. last 2 minutes, we just completely align ourselves with today's transformational class. Know that if we are here, that means there is something for us to learn, to unlearn in this very moment. And we are ready to experience that. Taking 3 long, deep breaths. Breathe in from your nose, hold it for a while, and breathe out from your mouth. It's like we are fully into the present, fully in the body, fully aligned with mind and the energy of the spirit. Fully ready to experience life in this moment. Once you are back, I would like you to give me a thumbs up in the comment section so that I can get to know that you are all here with me. You can open your eyes when you are ready. I can see some of our friends have already joined. Welcome, welcome Hardeep Kaur. Hi Sunita ji. Hello Rajbinder Kaur. Good evening Velanki Chandra. Good evening. Wonderful. Yes. Welcome Ridul. Welcome. Great. So friends, today's topic for the class is no topic as such. It's a story because from the stories there can be a lot for us to learn. And I, being a student, I love the stories that Dr. Lakshmi especially shares in her classes. And that always has inspired me to look out for new stories so that, the learning that is inside and outside the class can be much more enriched with those stories. So today, there is this one of my favorite stories is the story of Satyakam. So this story is a story of a mother and the son, and it is picked up from Chandogya Upanishad. There are many Upanishads, around 108 Upanishads, which are divided or being extracted from these 4 Vedas that we have. And majorly, there are around 10 Upanishads that are widely read. So, Chandogya Upanishad is one such Upanishad which is very widely read, and it comes from Samaved. So, uh, Krishna in Gita, he says that I am the Samaved in Vedas. So, what is so special about Samaved? So, Samved is not just about speaking, it's about singing. So, whenever somebody practices, somebody learns, or somebody discusses about Samveda, it's always in the singing mode because it is called the Veda of people who follow the art. And same way, Chandogya Upanishad, which carries this word called Chand, right? So this story is mentioned in Chandogya Upanishad and revolves around a mother and a son. Now, friends, this story is very unlike other stories. Why? Because whenever we listen to the stories that are mentioned in Upanishads, we have to attend to them with rapt attention. That means we cannot miss our awareness while we are listening to that, because that is how you can taste the real essence that our Upanishads are trying to offer to us. So I hope that you have found time for yourself for the next an hour or so that you can completely absorb this story and let this story be an opener, a heart opener, a mind opener, and to absorb the spirit, the essence of the spirit in us. And I will follow the traditional way, the way Upanishads are discussed. So it is said that whensoever we talk about Upanishads, we start with a Shanti Mantra. So here I go. Om Sahanao Vavatu Sahanao Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahe Tejasvinavaditamastu Ma Vidvishavahe. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Well, this mantra speaks about Shanti, and where does this Shanti has to go? It talks about the Shanti that prevails between the giver and the receiver. It prevails between the conversation that you and I are doing by this mode, right? So it speaks about the wellness, the goodness, and it says that may the listener, the speaker, may the parties involved, everybody be, they benefit from this conversation. So that is what, I start with. Now I come to the story that is of a mother and the son. And this mother and son, they lived in the jungles and a very happy life. The son's name was Satyakama, and it was given by his mother. What is Satyakama? Satyakam. So in Hindi, I can say that जो सत्य की कामना करता है, somebody who seeks truth is called Satyakama. So if we say that the kind of names that are given to us, it impacts the personality that we build. It impacts the individuality that we build. So the way that name is given, Satyakama, so it is quite obvious from the name of that boy that this boy seeks the truth. Satya ki kamna rakhta hai. And his mother, whose name is Jabala. And one fine day, Satyakam really had a deep desire to have the higher knowledge. He wanted to know about Brahman. Now, what is Brahman? Brahman means the supreme force, which is the center and in which everything involves. So it is the center of our existence, and also the entire existence lives in that Brahman. That is Brahman, the supreme being, actually. Or we can say the being that lives in each one of us. So you would often see me using this word, Brahman, and so don't compare this word with Brahman that we've seen in the caste system, Brahman, Vaishya, Shudra, and all these we've been doing. these castes that we've gone through. So it's not about those. It's about the Brahman. Brahman means the one that, and the one this inside, right? So he had a great desire to know Brahman. He wanted to really have the right knowledge. He wanted to, like his name, he wanted to find the truth. And but he had a question that if he wants to find the truth, he would need a preceptor, he would need a teacher. And the teacher will only admit him once he tells the teacher what's the name of his father, right? Or what's his name of Gotra. In the olden days, there was no registration form to be filled. There was only Gotras that were asked. So, what Gotra are you from? Initially, this way of admitting people in the schools, or what we say is Gurukul, was very, very sacred process. And it was not that it was only limited to certain set of people who are rich or who are coming from a high system, like the Brahmins, or all these people. It was not only just for them. It was for them who carry the willingness of knowing that Brahman, right? So a Brahman is not like, in the a few years back, if I go now, the time is changing, but around 100 years back, there was a lot of untouchability movement that had come, and people who belong to a higher society, they were given a higher pedestal. This is the manipulation of information that happened over the period of time, right? But actually, the Brahman is the one who is willing to know about Brahman, who is willing to see the truth. And that is what was looked when the children were admitted into the school or into the Gurukul. So since Satyakama knew that he will be asked this question, he went to his mother and he said, Ma, what is my Gotra? Now look at the way he's asking the question. Unlike the Hindi movies wherein the hero goes to the mother and he says, "Who is my father?" Or in a very rugged language, I will say, "Mera baap kaun hai?" All these words that are being. But look at the way the child has asked the question to the mother. That I wish to have admission in a Gurukul, and the teacher there is going to ask me about my Gotra. So, what is my Gotra? That is what he asks to the mother. So much of humility that he already carried in that space. And when mother heard this question, at the same time, she was very happy that the child is looking, Satyakama is looking to gain knowledge. And she said, "Dear son, before you were born, I was working as a maid." Now, in those days, the maid is not just the one that helps at home. There were several variety or types of maids. And there was one category of maids who would serve their masters physically also. We can also say Vashya. That is what she served through her body, her master. And she said, "Dear son, before you were born, I served many masters. I would serve many masters, and I really don't know who is your father or what is your Gotra. I don't know. But you can do one thing, and that is, since you are born to me, since you are my child, my name is Jabala, and you can say to your teacher, whomsoever you approach, that my Gotra is Jabala." And she says, you can say your full name is Satyakam Jabala. And that is what she tells it to her son. And son absorbs it. Son feels that yes, this is the truth and this is how it has come. So he absorbs it without any ifs and buts. And the very next day, the son is ready to approach a rishi, and the mother blesses the child and she says, go ahead, meet your purpose, may the best be with you, may you gain what you wish to gain. And that is how, with all the love and blessings, and with that answer that mother had given to the child, Satyakama leaves the home. And he reaches to the ashram of Haridrumat Gautam. We all say Gautam Rishi. So Haridrumat Gautam. So he reaches to the ashram of that great Rishi and he approaches the Rishi, and with all the humility, with folded hands, he tells the teacher that I am wanting to be a student here. I want to learn from you. Can you accept me as your student? And when he says this, obviously the next question that came from Haridrumat Gautam Rishi was, tell me about your Gotra. To which he said that I was born to my mother, who worked as a maid and who served many men before my birth. So she doesn't know about my father, but I carry her Gotra and her name is Jabala. So my full name is Satyakam Jabala. So friends, I would like to stop here and I would like to say that there are two ways to gain, knowledge. We all seek knowledge, and these are two levels, I would say. The very first level is to know. For example, many of you might have heard the story of Satyakama. Many of you might have heard the concepts which I or somebody else would talk about. That is the very first level, that it is at the knowing level. And there is a second level, which is the application level, wherein that knowledge turns into wisdom by adding a personal ingredient. And what is that personal ingredient? By having an applied way of looking at it. So many of the people, they stay in the first level, that is Jigyasa zone, which is like curiosity zone. Oh, I want to know, so that I am in the capacity that I wanted to know. But Satyakama was not in that zone. He was in the second zone, wherein he knew, because his behavior, the way he led his life, it carried all that. But now he wanted to actually learn in the formal way that what it actually means. So since he was in the second, and when Gautam Rishi heard his answer that he is, born from not from the marriage, but a relation outside of marriage. So Gautam Rishi accepts it very humbly, and then he thinks inside himself, because these rishis were higher beings, they could look into the eyes and they could sense what's happening and what's not. And in Satyakama, he could sense that there is so much of truth in what he is saying. He could sense that if the child is speaking the truth, and this truth is spoken by the mother, and the mother does not carry the fear about it, because obviously, people would say, oh, a child outside of a marriage is an illegitimate child, and the world will start to give it names. It quite can be, a traumatic experience for the mother whose child goes through that. But look, she has nothing to hide, and she gives the truth as is to the child, and the child further gives it to, the Gautam Rishi. And when Rishi, kind of understands that, takes that, hears that, he sees that this child belongs to the mother who follows the truth. So he understands, even if she has been into that maid role, serving through her, body, by getting intimate with people and, having them meet their sexual needs, even if she was doing that work, but she was focused on the truth. So he said, if he belongs to such mother, he is definitely welcome. So he is definitely Brahman. He belongs to Brahman Jat. He doesn't belong to Vaishya Jat. So friends, can you see how in the olden days our rishis would interpret the whole thing? They would just see the willingness of the child, how willing the child is, and which is unlike the system that we see today, because these days, no offenses, but the parents' occupation and how much bank balance they hold, everything is taken into the account. But this thing sometimes is given the least preference. How much is the willingness, how much is the desire this child is carrying to learn? And that's how, the Gautam Rishi said, yes, you are welcome to my ashram, you're welcome to this Gurukul, and I will be happy to give you the knowledge that you are seeking. And that was the day it started. And the very moment when he was welcomed, the Gautam Rishi did, we say, Upanayan Sanskar. What is Upanayan Sanskar? Consider that when some child is admitted into a school, he is registered on the register, his name is put, marked on the register, and then he becomes that, the student, he is issued notebooks and copies. This is how it happens. But in those days, how would a child get registered to a Gurukul? By going through Upanayan Sanskar. We also call it Yagyopavita. What does it mean? It means giving you that sacred thread. What is that sacred thread? In Hindi, we call it Janeu. Janeu Pujan. That is what is being done. So they would tie that thread around the child. And what does it mark? It marks the sign of Brahmacharya. So in Gurukul, you are asked to be Brahmachari. What is Brahmachari? Brahmachari means Brahm plus Achari. Achari means Acharan. Somebody who has Brahman in his Acharan. Somebody who practices Brahman is Brahmachari. Right? So that is how he was initiated into the school, and the holy sacred fire was lit by Gautam Rishi. And then he does the Upanayan Sanskar for Satyakam Jabala, and thereon he starts to learn. And there came a day when Satyakama was in the in the Gurukul, and Gautam Rishi came to him, and he led the boy to a field where there were many cows, many cows, hundreds of cows. And he said, Satyakam, I am going to give you 400 cows, and your job is to make them 1,000. And don't come to me until they are 1,000. So you have to leave now with these 400 cows. Don't come to me until they are 1,000. And those cows were malnourished, very weak, very fragile, not able to give milk. So they did not carry, all the nutrition for themselves. So how could they nourish others? And with all the love, Satyakam accepts. So it was a learning. At the same time, it was a test. It was both the things put together for Satyakam. Friends, in the learning is never only in the class. it's beyond the class. And I would say with my teachers, Dr. Newton, Dr. Lakshmi, with Patriji, the learning happens in the class, but learning happens exponentially when we see them outside the class. So that is the real quality of a teacher, a right, uh, uh, the teacher that is what can give you the darshan of that, the right preceptor. And so since it came from the teacher, Satyakama picked that up, that yes, I'm going to take it forward. So he leaves the ashram with those 400 cows, and he walks, miles and miles, and while, cows are following and going along with him. And, so days are passing. There is, the Satyakam doesn't have any home, he doesn't have any shelter. So he would make temporary shelters, he would sleep under the trees, rest on the trees, look at the stars, everything he would just enjoy. And in that enjoyment, he realized that his mind has started to get empty, because instead of thinking life, he was now busy experiencing life. Right? So there is a difference. Most of us are busy thinking life. We make plans. This is what I should do. This is what I'm going to do now, tomorrow, day after. There is a to-do list. Well, definitely we can make that. But at the same time, if that is coming at the cost of missing on, your experience of life, then that is of no use. Thinking is of no use, because it puts your mind on the activity and work after work, and that is a tiresome job. If you are going to be thinking all the time, when are we going to live? When are we going to smile? When are we going to experience the joy? When are we going to cry? All experiences are to be experienced. That is what the energy of life is. And when Satyakama started to do it, there was kind of a reboot or a reset mode that he was put on by the existence itself, because he was just lying. There was nothing to think about. The cows were being taken care of. They were grazing, they were being fed all that green grass, and they will move from one field to another. And there also he would sit, he would just be with the nature. When he would watch a flower, he would keep watching the flower with that wonder, the eye that the child is carrying. So that is how all the programming that he had with himself, it started to drop, one after the other, one after the other, one after the other. And that is how his mind became empty. He was completely empty. And even the cows will, graze and would sit with him. They will all rest together in the night. So that is how such a joyful time he was spending, with that. And one fine day, while he was looking at the stars, there appeared a bull. A bull appeared in front of him, and he says, "Dear Satyakam, we are now 1,000. We can now go back to Gautam Rishi Ashram. So the job is done. So we can now go back." So when Satyakam hears that, he neither feels sad nor feels happy. He says, "Okay." And with that, the bull also says, "Now that you've taken so much care of us, I'm going to give you some insight, something. I'm going to tell you something about Brahman, something about that supreme being inside and outside of you." So Satyakama got excited that, yeah, I would be very happy to listen to that. And then he says, I am going to tell you 1/4 of the Brahman, not the total Brahman. I can only give you 1/4 of the Brahman. And what is that Brahman? 1/4, 1 feet of the Brahman, we can say, is listen to me carefully. That's what he said. He said, Brahman is, you know, Brahman shines in the north, Brahman shines in the west, Brahman shines in the east, Brahman shines in the south. That means Brahman is north, Brahman is east, Brahman is west, Brahman is south. That's what he says. And once he says that, Satyakama absorbs it, and then he says, thank you. And then Bull says, this is 1/4. The other 1/4, would be now told to you by the fire, which is Agni. He says, okay. Now, what does it actually mean that Brahman is north, Brahman is south, east, and west? This aspect of the Brahman, we call it Prakashvan. Prakashvan. Somebody who is fully manifested. Prakash means manifested, something that is manifested. So these directions are manifested. That's what he says. And he says everything that is manifested is actually Brahman. That is what it actually means when it speaks about all the directions. Now, most of the times Vastu Shastra is followed for the homes, and people are very particular about the directions. Well, I have deep respect for Vastu Shastra, but at the same time, I want to say all directions carry the essence of that Supreme Being. So if all directions carry the essence of that Supreme Being, how can all directions not support you? That is what. The one who follows the truth, all the planets, all the sciences, all the Jyotish Shastra, it will always work in your favor. That is what the real knowledge is, dear friends. If we look to that truth in everything that life offers to us, then we are eyeing not on the outside, we are eyeing what sits inside, right? Who is seeing. That is what we are focusing at. And that is how he gets the very first understanding of the Prakashvan, that everything that has manifested, all the directions, and everything out of that is Brahman. And he receives that, he absorbs it. And then he, gets ready to, walk back to Gautam Rishi's ashram. So he's walking and going, and the days and nights are passing. And one night he is sitting, the cattle have slept, the cows have now slept after having all the meals and lush green grass and all that. And then he sits and he ignites that holy fire. So he, as a ritual that he carried, because the Gurukul students, they are taught that you have to sit next to the Yagnagni, and then you have to offer your whatever you have to that Yagnagni. And that is what he did. He sat with the fire, he faced that direction, and he just sat, and then the Agni appeared. And Agni appeared, and the Agni said that I am here to tell you about 1/4 of the Brahman. And Satyakam very, very graciously, he says, thank you very much, dear sir. I would be happy if you can tell me about the other 1/4 of Brahman. So this time, Agni says that Brahman is earth, Brahman is sky, Brahman is heaven, and Brahman is ocean. Now, when Satyakam hears it, he absorbs it and he pays thank you to it. And Agni goes. And before it goes, it says, the other 1/4 of the Brahman will be told to you by Swan, Hansa. You will meet Hans while you are way back home. And now, what does it mean to be Brahman is earth, Brahman is sky, Brahman is heaven, Brahman is ocean? Well, this aspect, this quadrant of Brahman is called Anantavan. First one was Prakashvan, second one is Anantavan. Anant means infinite, limitless, something that doesn't have any start and has no end. There's no start and end to the earth. There's no start and end to the sky. There's no start and end to the heaven. There's no start and end to the ocean. And by mentioning all this, it is being pointed. The Agni is pointing at the infinite nature of that Brahman. So the earth, of course, we've understood the sky covering the earth, heaven, which is above the sky, and then ocean. Now, ocean has two sides, two aspects to it. One ocean we all know, the ocean that is Samudra, the water bodies. But the ocean, the real ocean is cosmic ocean, the cosmic waters. It is said that out of the cosmic waters, the entire existence was created, the cosmic water. So that is what is being the highest of the spaces, that the cosmic waters. We can also call it Akash Ganga. That is what the cosmic waters it means. And all these aspects, all these, these earth and sky and the heaven, they all are limitless in their nature. And by talking about them, Agni is trying to point on the infinite nature of the Brahman. So friends, that is how he receives, he understands that. And now he walks further. He's way back home, he keeps moving day in, day out. And one fine day he sits near to the river, wherein he sees that swan emerging. A swan emerges from the water and comes to Satyakama, sits with Satyakama. And Satyakama, he tells it to Satyakama that I'm here to tell you about 1/4 of Brahman. Right? Would you like to listen to it? And with all the humility, he says, Master, please let me know about that. And that is how the swan said. What did swan say? The swan said that the Brahman is Agni, the Brahman is sun, the Brahman is moon, the Brahman is stars. Now, what does it mean? Agni, sun, moon, stars. What does it mean? So Satyakam absorbs it, but my question is actually to you. What does it mean? Because Satyakam understood it. And what does it mean? What through all these things the swan is trying to say? What is common in all of them? Anybody, if wishes to mention in the comment section, I would be happy to read that. The way you see the Prakashvan aspect in all the directions, because they are manifested. And then the second one is the Anantavan. Anantavan means all these all these things like earth, the sky, the heaven, and the ocean, they all are unlimited, Anantavan. And the third aspect that is mentioned by the Agni, the sun, the moon, the stars is Jyotirvan. or Jyotishvan, we can say, Adityavan, which means the effulgent one or the shining one, the light one. So he says the light that is in Agni, the light that is in sun, the light that is in moon, and the light that is in stars. All is Brahman. So that means Brahman is the manifested one. Second one, the Brahman is the infinite one. The third one is the Brahman is the light. Jyotishvan, Adityavan. And that is what Swan says it to him. And then he says, now the last 1 quarter will be shared with you by a flamingo. So a flamingo is a water bird. In Hindi, we call it madgu. That is what it's being called. So a water bird who usually stays around the water body. And so there came a time when Satyakama met Madgu, and Madgu says, the flamingo says that I'm here to talk about the 1 quarter, the rest 1 quarter of the Brahman. And with all the humility, again, Satyakama says, please give me that knowledge. And then he speaks that Brahman is your mind, Brahman is your energy, Brahman is the one that sees through your eyes, the Brahman is the one that listens or hears from your ears. Friends, understand all these things, right? It's not talking about the ears, it's talking about the karma, the karmendri. It's like hearing is the job of the ears, seeing is the job of eyes. So it's not talking about the eyes, it's talking about the job, right? And so he spoke about these 4 things. Pranakala, which means the Brahman is energy. And then the second one is Manakala, which is mind. Brahman is mind. And Brahman is the space out of which all the thinking happens. And the third thing he says, Chakshukala. Chakshukala means the ability to see. Chakshu, and what does its kala is? Chakshukala means sight, to be able to see. And then Shrotkala, which means the ability to hear. And that is how, the Brahman's knowledge was passed on to Satyakama. Now, friends, some of us, we might carry this question, how a bull can talk, how Agni can talk, how flamingo and swan can talk. Because we live in a logical world and we believe that only humans have the ability to talk. But, there is a story of Sant Gyaneshwar wherein with his tapa, he was able to make a bull speak, right? And another aspect of looking at this is that this Vani that we are talking, it is just the Vani which is at the humanly level, right? Beyond this, there is a Vani which is common to all of us, right? A way to communicate. We call it Para. That means which is beyond all these words, something that cannot be put into words. A meditator, a dhyani like Satyakama, the one who seeks the truth, is able to speak with things, objects, animals, people, nature with that language. And that is how Satyakama was able to speak to the bull, the swan, the Agni, and the flamingo. So friends, once he receives that, the last quarter of, the Brahman from the, the flamingo, and this quarter is called as, the first one we call it Prakashvan, and then we call it Anantvan, then Adityavan or Jyotishvan, and the last one is called Ayatanvan. Ayatanvan. What is Ayatanvan? Ayatanvan means that which is the destination of all, that which in which everything lives. Ayatan, that means which is the tan for all. It includes everything. It includes each one of them, everyone. That is called Ayatanvan. And from him, he received this Ayatan aspect. That means everything lives in that Brahman. And then he entered the ashram of Gautam Rishi, and he goes to his Satyakam goes to his Rishi, his teacher, and he says, Master, the cows are 1,000 in number now, and they are very healthy. They are healthy. And at the same time, he says, now can you tell me about that supreme knowledge that for which I came to you. And then Gautam Rishi looks at him and he says, tell me what happened with you while you were all these days grazing and taking care of the cows. So he tells about each and everything, what happened, whom did he meet. He met bull, Agni, and then swan and flamingo, and all the aspects that he received from them. And by the time he reached to flamingo, there was a shine that was on his face. There was a lightness, a sense of contentment which was oozing out from his face. And Gautam Rishi says, you have understood what you wanted to understand. You have known the knower. You have known that. And at the same time, he says nothing after that to add, because usually, we approach our teacher and we say, can you please tell, is it right or wrong? So Satyakam, out of all that, he carries that. Right or wrong? Please tell me, is it good? Is it a good experience? But when the teacher says nothing, it's a sign of validation. That means teacher stamps it and it says, oh, you got it. Because this truth is very tough to be spoken from here, because these words will not be able to capture the essence of that truth. But yes, what comes from your eyes, because what is seen in your eyes is that chakshukala, and the way his face was shining and his whole body was, the aura was bright, and he could see that he has gained the knowledge that he wanted to. And then he tells it to Satyakam that you have received it, my dear child. Friends, there comes a day, when he grows into a great rishi. Satyakama becomes a great perceptor for helping people to understand the truth. So friends, this is the story of Satyakama. This is the story of the one who seeks the truth. And that is how that child is being led to all the aspects of the 4 quadrants of Brahman. He is receiving all that. Well, I shared some of my understandings out of it and the way I look at this story, and I'm grateful to all my teachers who've helped me to have my own eyes to look and to create my own perception to look at these stories. But I would invite you all to look at this story with your own realizations and insights. That is the second level of learning, dear friends. And that is where we all want to be. Not just a jigyasa, oh, who is Satyakama? But what he experienced, what does it mean to experience that? Because when you start to experience that, you will see that there is some joy which will begin to ooze out from within. Something beautiful, some wow moments will be created out of that. That is the beauty of getting closer to that supreme truth. Friends, although you have heard this story, I would like you all to sit down with the story in your own time and process it and see what learnings can I have from, Jabala, and the how Satyakama is, and how Gautam Rishi is. All these things can be put into our own realizations through our own perception. So great, friends. Now it is good also to collectively meditate on the realization of this story. Don't just leave the story after listening to it. It is half. The other half is to absorb it, to let our breath connect with it. So, friends, if you are ready, I'm going to take you through a journey, through a meditation wherein we can feel this story from within. Let the wisdom of it awaken from within. Yes. So, friends, I would like you to please close your eyes. You can give me a thumbs up when you're ready, and let us start with that. So, I would like you to close your eyes and relax. 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 Even the very listening to the essence of this story, of this supreme being, any discussion of the supreme being, it can take us into meditation. It can take us into a deep meditative state where our thoughts do not bother us. Rather, they serve us, they listen to our command. I'd like you to just be with your breath. Just allow yourself to deepen your relaxation. The body, the mind relaxes deeply while we remain aware, attentive. The breath becomes so soft at this moment. Soft, flowy, tranquil, very peaceful. It becomes so soft that the breath becomes a very subtle force inside of you. And it fixes your attention right in the middle of your brows. Totally still. The awareness totally centered in your third eye region, right in the mid of your forehead. And at this moment, I would like you to bring your attention to very first quarter of Brahman, Prakash One, the manifested one. I would like you to take this quarter in your life and see all that has manifested in your life. It includes all that has manifested by your will, or maybe anything which you feel has manifested by an accident, or there was no other choice. A situation, a person, a certain condition with your own self, anything that manifested. Some are liked, some are not liked. If in all these manifested, that Brahman is the source. A situation, a condition that we don't like, but it has manifested in my life. That also is Brahman. Prakash One. And when that is Brahman, what am I resisting? I can let go of that resistance. And I can welcome all that is manifested in my life as the gift of Brahman, with the seed, the source as Brahman, that supreme being. At this moment, I would like you to bring your attention to the second quadrant of Brahman, the Anantavan, infinite one. At an outside layer, I see everything held in the space of finity. Means there is a certain age of my body, there's a certain age, there's a time attached to what I hold now. There is an age to everything. There is a finite aspect. But in these finite aspects, there lives that infinite nature that never dies, never finishes, never get exhausted, is never consumed. Every finite thing has the source of that infinite. So I welcome all that is. In that limited, the unlimited lives as a seed. Totally absorbing this realization. And as you keep absorbing the realizations, I'd like you to see what shift is it bringing in the way you look at your life. And bringing your attention to this third quarter, Jyotishvan, Adityavan, which means the effulgent one, the light one. I take it forward and I see that there are aspects, there are phases of my life that are divided into light and dark. Many of us are at peace with the light. The struggle is to be at peace with the dark. The dark also holds the source as light. If everything has the source as that being, so has this dark phase of my life. I welcome it fully, knowing that it holds the seed as the supreme being. And when I accept this, I welcome this, I would notice all the resistance toward my past or the worry of future, all the fear will begin to drop, because when everything has the source as that supreme being, what is there for us to fear of? What is there for us to worry of? Just absorbing the realizations that are emerging from within, fully welcoming the fulgent one aspect of the Brahman, the Jyotishvan aspect of the Brahman, of that supreme being. Moving to the fourth part of the Brahman, the Ayatan one, which is the ultimate one, the destination one, that which embraces everything, that in which everything lives. If everything lives in this, so am I. So are my people around. So is my family. So is this world, this entire existence. So is my life. And if everything lives in that, and everything inside holds that seed, what is it that I need to worry? What is there for me to fear? What is there for me do not trust. I welcome the insights of this ultimate one, the destination one, all that embraces one aspect in me. I welcome it completely. All these energies of the four quadrants, I welcome. Sarvam Khalvidam Brahma. Sarvam Khalvidam Brahma. Sarvam Khalvidam Brahma. All this is Brahman. The total is Brahman. The higher, the lower, the good, the not so good, the health, the ill health, the love, the hate, all aspects of duality have come from this non-dual, non-two, Advait, no two. And therefore, it is okay for me to experience life as is. I can flow with it. Slowly bringing all these insights with us in this present moment. Last 2 minutes. Taking 3 long, deep breaths, breathing in from your nose, hold it for a while, and breathe out from your mouth. Coming back totally in your body, being yourself fully in the body. Opening your hands and keeping the middle of your palms on your eyes for 5 seconds. Slowly removing your hands and gently open your eyes. Welcome back everyone. Welcome. Great everybody. If you're back, give me a thumbs up. Yes. If you wish to share your experience, it would be great if you can mention it in the comment section. Yes, we would be happy to read that for you. Thank you. Wonderful friends. So, friends, with this understanding, with this realization, we move ahead in our life. We carry it with us that Sarvam Khalvidam Brahma. This is one of the Vakyas, the Mahavakyas of Upanishad. It says, all that is Brahman, all is Brahman. You, I, everything holds that in the seed form. And we are here to make that tree, make that realization tree. That's why we've taken the birth. So, on this note, I take your leave and we will see you soon in the next transformational meditation class. And hoping to have a great and an amazing time with all of you. And I end the session with this Shanti Mantra that we started with. Om Sahanau Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karvavahi Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahi. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So thank you to all of you, and I would deeply like to thank the QLU Sangha. Before I thank my masters, I would like to thank the QLU Sangha for organizing this and giving me this opportunity to share on this platform. And then my teachers, Dr.Newton, Dr.Lakshmi, for for everything that they have offered to us. Thank you so much. Thank you.